Well, good afternoon, everybody. I know you're probably used to seeing me on Wednesday evenings, but today is a special Thursday edition with our good friends from Swell. Before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about today. So Danny Laneri, my good friend from a long time ago, and his team at Swell, we've got Angelica and Grace, who have also been instrumental in putting this together. Danny said, hey, let's do a webinar talking about Swell and introduce it to your group. So Swell is something that I'm very passionate about. Dr. Jennifer Bell is very passionate about it. Dr. Jeff Horowitz is very passionate about it. They're really good friends of ours from a long time. So Danny and I are going to do a webinar, and we're going to present some information to you all about how it's really changed the way that I practice, or really, I should say, the perception of my practice. So without further ado, my good friend, Director of Business Development, is that correct?
That is correct.
Danny Laneri from Swell. So Danny, thank you.
Thank you kindly. It's good to be with you as always. I like to remind people or tell people that we almost drowned together in a river fly fishing years ago.
We did. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we did. And we're going to get your son Austin on a film set here with my dad as well. And so always good to be with friends. And it's been 2 years now almost since we plugged Swell in at your practice.
It's been about a year and a half. Yeah.
It's coming up on it. So
yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen because it's similar conversations to what we had around this time. Obviously, we knew each other in the past and had worked together with previous companies as well. But just the thought around how to use Google to get more reviews for the practice, like you said, changing the view of the practice, shifting your marketing dollars, why Google matters, how reviews affect that, all of the topics. I think it's really relevant for practices to know and understand. And as things have shifted, and now with your understanding and the way that you present your office experience, I'm really excited about what we're going to run through today.
I am too. And I'm actually giving a presentation to a group of endodontists in Dallas-Fort Worth tonight. And Swell is a big part of that presentation because what it's done for my practice.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah.
And Angelica just told me that we are not broadcasted properly. I'm not sure. We're live on Dinks, correct?
We are live. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, a little technology. We're speaking of things changing and evolving. We're doing this on Zoom, Facebook Live, and recording for live attendance as well. So I think in terms of just moving forward, we'll take our live content and run with the group, and we've got now a recorded aspect of this running as well.
I think we are perfectly live. I see attendees. I think everything's going well.
Okay.
So carry on. Have Angelica call me and I can stop off for a second if need be.
She just gave me the green light, so it sounds
all
like
right. Good deal. We're good. Okay.
Sorry for that weird little hiccup, but if you remember where you were, great. Otherwise, we'll get the view off of our photos and start to dive into some content.
Let's go.
Okay. So I think when we talk about reviews fundamentals, I always like to take practices out of just, I know there are many different ways practices are trying to gather reviews. Some people were handing out postcards. Some people have QR codes. Some people have a system that lightly touches around how to get reviews and track them and manage them. But really the reason why that matters more than ever before is how much search activity is taking place on Google. It's really surprising. And I came to you like 2 years ago and I said, hey, why do you only have 10, 12 reviews on your Google My Business page? You are a fantastic practitioner. People love you. You see a lot more patients than that in a day, let alone a week, a month, what have you. But it's because Google is now accounting for about 92% of searchers. And when we think about that, the majority of that is taking place on a mobile device. And it's really important because practices could leverage Google for a very low cost with online reviews and just optimizing their Google My Business page. So when we look at this, some people are still catching up in terms of the changes that Google has made, but I just want to start with the Google My Business listing. This is a free listing. You're going to have one essentially whether you like it or not. But if you can get patients to leave reviews or link reviews directly to your Google My Business page more frequently, update photos, make sure that your hours of operation, your business listing is correct and unanimous across the internet, Google will take searchers who are searching things like dentist near me, affordable dentist, cosmetic dentist, emergency dentist. That's one thing I know. I looked through your site and your reviews, Chad, is you've been able to accommodate a lot of emergency patients. And now with so many patients finding you online, a big factor in this is the frequency and the consistency of reviews. So as we talk about people performing these searches, the majority of them are happening on a mobile device. It starts with a simple phrase. And if we can get more practices up in that front and center result, when patients are searching for practices, they're influenced by them. They'll spend more when they perceive a higher value. It's not unlike a restaurant. When we choose a 5-star restaurant with hundreds or even thousands of reviews, we perceive value and we're willing to spend, and we expect that we'll go in and get a 5-star treatment just like all these other individuals, and then we'd be happy to share about it. So in terms of reviews, they're highly integrated into the local search rankings for a practice. They want fresh and recent data. How frequently are you getting reviews? Are you responding to those reviews? And then factoring that in with all of their other search aspects. So a big thing we'll talk about as we move on further, and I'm not the only one talking here, is responding to reviews and some of the ways that even Chad has an approach to that, and dealing with everything from negative reviews, positive reviews, 4-star reviews that could have been 5-star reviews, all of this. And so before we go anything further, Chad, any thoughts or additions here before we dive into looking at a couple practices?
I think, one of the things that you talked about is you talked about, the consistency with reviews, that they need to be recent, that they need to be relevant. And I think one of our biggest problems prior, and I know we're going to dive into this a little bit deeper, is that we weren't really consistent and we didn't have a consistent way of capturing or generating reviews. And now we do. So I think it's really important that, 10 reviews is good, especially if they're good reviews, but it depends upon the age as to how relevant that's going to be and where that's going to place you. And same thing with 500 reviews. That's good, but if they're all over a year old, it's not really that important. So it's something that we need to constantly keep up with. And it takes not just the technology, but it takes your team as well to make sure that, we're staying on top of this.
Absolutely. Yeah, recency is factored in more heavily than ever before. Here's a simple search as we look at analyzing this. And for those of you who are attending live, watching in the Dinks group, take some thought here and maybe a couple notes, or just audit your own situation. We wanted to do this for a few practices live, but we thought, why not create the general format? And if you do this alongside us in your local area on a mobile phone or your computer right now, search dentist near me, or best dentist near me, or ortho, pedo, endo, what have you, any tag that patients might be searching for your practice, and see, one, if you pop up in that initial search ranking, which is called the Google Map Pack. And then how is your practice comparing against others in the area? But most importantly, what's going on at your practice? Here's a practice in that initial search that somehow popped up, but they have 2 stars and 2 total reviews. And digging deeper, to Chad's point, their last review was 2 years ago and there's no response from the owner. it's shocking that they even popped up in a search, but more importantly is, are you really going to select that practice over the other practices that are sitting next to it, just by virtue of thinking about reviews and effective reviews, or just what others are saying or not saying in this case? Now, a different example, and we'll even be looking at your practice here shortly, but this practice has 4.9 star average, over 200 reviews, but even more importantly, actually, and I don't know why the slide isn't there, but when you dig deeper, the last review for this practice was 2 days ago, and there was a response from the owner. So you nailed it right on, you hit it right on the head there. Recency is key, but it's also just think about, as you're searching your practice and digging deeper in terms of how many reviews, what's your star rating, how frequently or recently are you getting those reviews, and just think about how many patients you're seeing, and just connecting the dots of how could we make that more frequent, because that will really help us. The moral of the story here is, one, just to get reviews, whether you're using an automated system or the team has nailed down a way to get reviews. It's critical that at least if you're seeing, 20 patients a day, and you should be at least seeing one new review a week. And we like to see them daily, or at least every couple of days. And we'll talk more about that. But you can do this manually, or you could take an approach of what is going to increase the likelihood that a patient will leave an experience in my practice and actually leave me an online review. We had this same conversation. It's, well, how does it look? How easy is it for that patient to interact? When are you sending that? Are you doing it on a mobile device? Is it email only? So we think that with a highly branded, personalized message, day of the appointment, 6 to 8 p.m. local time on a mobile device, where the patient is only required to click once or twice, has the best yield or the best return or best patient engagement. Any thoughts on that, Chad? Obviously, we saw quite a difference in your scenario, but what have you guys done in this scenario?
I think we're going to get to that in a minute. So let's flip slides, and then we'll kind of talk about my journey and see what's been happening, and go from there. So next slide. So, let's go back. When we started this, I believe it was November of 2020. Was it, Danny? Yeah.
Yep.
So, we had 12 Google reviews. We had a handful of Facebook reviews. Everything was positive affirmation, but there's so much more to the story. So what we were doing, it just wasn't working. And, through our telephone software, or, patient communication software, I guess I should say, we had the ability to capture reviews. We did QR codes. We hired a service several years ago. But I think the biggest shift in our practice was really a mindset. It was a mindset from us as a practice. And then the second biggest shift was actually utilizing the service of a company that could provide. And so we would hand out a lot of the QR codes, but that was an extra step for the patients. But we would hand them out to people that we really knew had a positive experience. So let's say you have 30 patients a day, we're handing out maybe 1 or 2 QR codes a day, if that, all right? So what our mindset shift was, and that was with the help of Swell, was, all right, let's stop just sending out the ones that had a positive experience. And instead of sending out 1 or 2 a day, out of those 30 people, let's send out 28 or 29. And maybe instead of picking the ones that you want to give a review, maybe your mindset shifts to picking the ones that you don't want to give a review. And we all know that for one reason or another, we're going to have a patient in our practice or someone in our practice that we're like, maybe we shouldn't really send out a review request for them. So we now take this list of patients and we just maybe remove 1 or 2 names, or most of the time we don't even remove any names. And it's really done wonders for our practice. Let's go to the next slide, Danny.
Okay.
So, when we first started out, also, when we look, word of mouth was probably our biggest referral source. And, we built our practice on word of mouth. We built our practice truly on patient experience. And so we had a lot of patients that came to us that would say, oh, well, I'm friends with so-and-so, or so-and-so went here and said that they had a great experience. And we never really capitalized on that. And so, we would be very low in the Google rankings just because we only had a handful of Google reviews. But now when we've switched, I would say that, before maybe 1 out of 10 patients that came in was coming from Google. Now I think on a safe estimate, we would be safe to say that 7 out of 10 new patients that are coming in is coming from Google. So we still have that word of mouth, but we also have this real power in patients that are finding us through the internet. And so, why are you here? We're here because we read the reviews and they're fantastic. And so, it's really done wonders for our new patient flow.
Love it.
So in our first week with Swell, going back to November, remember we had 12 Google reviews prior to starting Swell. Our first week alone, we had 32 reviews. And, most of them were on Google. Some of them were on Facebook. Some of them were just Swell reviews that don't get published anywhere. But we started realizing right away, why hadn't we done this sooner? We started seeing a big change. And it's actually a huge, I hate to say this, but it's really just a huge ego stroke, to have a patient really verbalize how great that experience was. And that's the word that I always want to hear. I want to hear I had a great experience. If I see experience in there, I hope that the word good, great is in front of it. And, it really is great to see that patients are acknowledging what your why is and what you try to do in your practice. Next slide. So here we are now. We have through October of 2022, I think the day that we pulled this data, we had 497 Google reviews at that point in time. Average rating of 5 stars. Yeah, we've had some 4 stars. We'll talk about those in a minute. We've had a 1 star, which we'll also get to in a minute. And, I kind of have to laugh about that. I always say it's not a matter of if you're going to get a bad review, it's a matter of when. And you just hope that maybe it's a mistake and that Google will account for it for you. But overall, it's been a, really positive experience. And, as I stated before, we really enjoy reading through this. I don't know what date this was pulled, but the date that we pulled, we had a practice of this last week, and we were talking through it. And I was like, you're never going to believe this. But as we're going through this rehearsal for this webinar, I think I got 2 notifications that we got 2 new reviews that came in within that hour. So it is regular, it is consistent. And, when we talk about responses to reviews, there's no reason to not respond to reviews because we do get a notification. Swell makes it very easy to respond. You can set up templates if you so desire, but for me, they took the time to write it. I want to acknowledge that. So I try and customize each response that we give. Some of them are simple, some of them are a little bit more lengthy, but you'll see some of the reviews in a few minutes and we'll go through those.
Are you responding to those on your phone or logged in on a computer?
Both. I've done both ways. Usually what I do is I usually pick like 1 flight a month and I'll get in and I'll catch up on Google reviews, as soon as the plane takes off. I try and catch up on my responses. I try and do it as it comes in, but I've been so busy lately that I try and just, I've just been doing a lump sum at once, but I try and respond to every single one of them.
Cool. Yeah, that's another thing on our side is just knowing that lots of practices you want to respond, but it is more time. And so making that simple with a mobile experience or just logged in, and we're trying to crack the code on how can we make responses easiest for you as well. So always love the feedback. Okay. We were just looking through some of your reviews and you got a review from a local guide. Wanted to break this down a little bit in terms of what is a great review and a great response. some of the things from our side, and you mentioned it, whenever I see the word experience, or when we can get a patient to describe the services that you're offering. Hey, I had a full arch case done by Dr. Duplantis, or, Invisalign, or whatever. I've seen a lot of emergency tag words on your Google My Business page. So there's a whole thought concept around getting the patient to just be as descriptive about their experience. And then now responding to those reviews, you can actually say things like, we love placing dental implants. We love being able to accommodate emergency dental needs. We love offering Invisalign. And Google is now double taking on those tags. You can get tags from the patient and tags from the review. So now when a searcher is searching for a specific service, maybe it's a high value case for you or something you're looking to do more of. But we like this just because it's descript, and obviously there's a response right near the same time. And this is just gold if you can get tons of these coming in.
Yeah, this is awesome. Now I do have a question on this because I never really looked at it, but it says the review was a month ago and the response was 9 months ago. And I know that's not the case.
That is not the case.
Okay.
I don't, sometimes that can be a Google API issue. I'm surprised to even see that.
I never saw it, but I remember when this review came through, and when we're talking about reviews, this review truly was about a month ago. And, to your point, this was probably one of the most thoughtful and lengthy reviews that we've had. And I really did appreciate it. And so, I made sure that I responded right away just to show that patient appreciation for taking their time and effort into putting this review out there.
Should we dive into this guy?
Yeah, so this is a review that happened about 3 weeks ago. And, obviously it's public in nature, but, don't reschedule your appointment with this place. They will charge a cancellation fee and send you nasty messages. Well, since this is a dentist professional only Facebook group, I can tell you that I can't tell you the last time that we've charged a no-show fee. It's just not something that we do. It hasn't worked well for our practice. So we haven't charged a no-show or a cancellation fee in a very long time. And so this review came through and it really kind of bothered me. But then again, I knew that we had enough 5-star reviews to really swallow this one up. I did report it to Google. To this date, they still have not done one thing with this. But the facts is that this patient or this person that's writing this review, I don't think that they've ever set foot in this establishment or made a phone call into this establishment, because our practice management software did not give us any of that information unless it's under a fake name. So at this point in time, what I want to tell everybody is that before you become the keyboard warrior, the first thing you need to do is just stop and take a deep breath. I tell my kids this all the time. It's like, don't be reactionary. Just take a deep breath and think about the review, think about how it affected you, think about the long-term effects, and really come back with a deliberate message. It doesn't mean that you have to wait days or weeks, but really be thoughtful in your responses, because if you come back and you're abrasive and you're reactionary, everybody's going to see that response, or anybody who wants to see that response can see that response. So actually, I sent this to you right away, and I was like, Danny, take a look at my response, make sure it sounds okay. But, I just wrote that we certainly apologize, but we're not sure that this person's even writing a review for the correct office. Wanted to make sure that they know that we're accommodating for reschedules and cancellations. Please make sure that you're writing a review for the correct office, and we'd be happy to assist this person if needed. Now, of course, it makes me wonder if this patient is just someone that's out there trying to sabotage people, or who this, or I shouldn't even say patient, who this person is, if this is even a real name. But there's zero response. And just like I get a notification that this review was posted, this person gets a notification that a response was posted in response to the review. And so I don't know where this is going to go, but at this point in time, all I can really do is laugh about it. And deep down inside, I know that I didn't do it. The best that I can do is share with the Google world that I didn't do it. And hopefully it won't affect me going forward.
Yeah, and back to your point of even during our practice last week, you got two new reviews on that call, but with the frequency that your positive reviews are coming in, this was 3 weeks ago and it's already quite buried. Some patients will go in and dig for your lowest reviews and things like that, but as a whole, they just want to see a general blend of authenticity. This is an awesome response. The fact that you addressed it right on the day of and got a message out, that's enough for the public eye. And these really aren't as big of black eyes for practices as they think.
Right. Right. I think a lot of people will know from my response that this is probably an erroneous review or just somebody out there that's just out to get people. So,
Yep.
basically my thoughts and, based upon what I've learned from Danny and, several others that are very predominant in the world of reviews is just, once again, stop, take a step back, don't be abrasive, be intentional, and assess the review with a clear head. Don't let it get to you too much. Respond quickly. If their concerns are legitimate, you might want to reach out to them before you respond. Offer a reasonable solution and ask them to update their reviews if you resolve the issue. I had another review several months ago that was a very abrasive review, and it was in regards to our billing. And so what had happened is we had not received the insurance check, and we're usually pretty good, but when you send out statements, sometimes you're going to get, one's going to get crossed in the mail. So we sent out a statement letting them know what their balance was. Usually that at least provokes a phone conversation, but in this case, it was a Sunday evening. I'll never forget it. Guy was a pretty good friend of mine, just blasts us on social media that, hey, don't go to this office. They'll bill you for the full amount, even when you have insurance and da, da, da. So I just picked up the phone and called him and said, hey, man, I really appreciate you throwing that out there, but I just want to let you know that our pathways got crossed the wrong way. We sent you a bill we shouldn't have. I'll check into it first thing tomorrow morning, but just let us get a hold of it before you go out there blasting us. Totally apologized, came back the next morning, and lo and behold, what was a substantial balance was now about $2. And so the review was removed immediately. And the next day we got this amazing review that, hey, the doctor called me and, we got a situation addressed and, please go to this dental office. So.
Love it. Yeah, that's awesome. This is just another quick example of a practice. And, this is ideally, they're describing the experience. In this case, there were implants there. And then the response from the practice, there's a typo, but we work constantly to provide the ultimate in patient experience and dental implant experience. These are just ask your patients to be descriptive and give them a simple, easy avenue to do that. Don't require a bunch of steps out of them. They'll give you some gold there. And then when you respond, you can pick up those tags. I know one other thing we wanted to touch on, and this is actually kind of our closing note before we open up for Q&A, some of our live attendees and our pre-registered attendees, but you're the expert here in talking through this and just kind of wanted to give this a nod because you've gotten a few of these that should have been 5 stars.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's in the mind of a 4-star review, but if you want to pull one up here, I think we've got one on the next slide.
I don't know if we didn't pull the 4 for some reason.
Okay. So, one of the things that I've noticed on 4-star reviews is you'll see a 4-star review and everybody always wants that 5th star. But I think there's a few types of people that leave a 4-star review because you could have a 4-star review with a fantastic commentary And it just kind of blows your mind. And you're like, oh my gosh, everything's supposed to be 5 stars. Why isn't this a 5-star review? And what I look at is that there's some people that might have been teachers in a past life or something, and they're just never going to give 100% or an A+. It's always going to be an A. It's never going to be an A+. It may even be a B+, and that's okay. So that's one of the mindsets that I think about. The other thing is that this person would probably give you 5 stars, but maybe there's just one thing missing that they really wanted. I mean, they may have wanted a massaging chair. Or they may have wanted, a pedicure during their dental appointment. Who knows? But they may just, need one more thing from you to get that 5-star. And then there's the person who wasn't the teacher, who wasn't this or that. And no matter what, they're just going to give you a 4-star review because they never get 5 stars on anything. Yeah. And so, we've talked about this before, is that a 4-star review is not going to hurt you. As a matter of fact, it's going to help you. And, it really may not even be all that good to have so many 5-star reviews. Maybe you need a 4-star or a 3-star sprinkled in there every now and then. So I don't let those get to me. Now, if I'm getting them consistently, then it's going to bother me, but I get them very rarely. And it's like, you look at the person who wrote the review and you're like, yep, I see why. Or, so I think that there's a reason that people give 4 stars, but for me, if I'm going to give a review, and I probably should be better about this, it's going to be a 5-star or it's going to be a 1-star, And so that's what makes me tick. If I have a great experience somewhere, I'm going to give them a 5-star review. I had a great experience at a car dealership a couple months ago. I gave them a 5-star review. Had a horrible experience at a restaurant in Utah last month, of all places, and what are they going to get from me? They're going to get a 1-star review. And, yes, they will reach out to you. And yes, it's usually restaurants that I give the 1-star review to. Yes, you will get a call from the manager. They will ask you to change the review. In return, sometimes they will offer you a gift certificate of some sort. I'm not telling you to use it as a game, but, people don't want the 1-star reviews. And if they're a good business, and they've at least got a conscience, they're going to reach out to you and try and get you to change that review and see what they could have done better to change that review. There was one restaurant several years ago that I told them that there was nothing that they could do to have me change the review, but I've removed reviews in the past as well. So, and I don't give a lot of 1-star reviews. I want to make that very clear. It's got to be something horrible that happened to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the overall story here too is you can use reviews and this social proof aspect for learning and training and shifts in the practice. We're going to shift gears here. I'm going to actually give just a little bit of a Swell pitch, but that's essentially what Swell is trying to help practices do with social proof or patient sentiment. This is both public and private. Yes, everyone knows us for Google reviews, and that's primarily what we're talking about today here, but there are also avenues that are convenient for patients to give you little tidbits on what could help it go from a 4 to a 5-star experience. Maybe they waited too long in your waiting room. Maybe your hygienist was a little pushy, or whatever. There's tons of scenarios here. They would like to fill out fewer forms on paper when they're in your practice, or, just they want text messages instead of having to call in, or all of that. We can use automation and personalized automation to extract this information for your practice. Get tons of great feedback online. Like you said, the 4-star reviews certainly aren't going to kill anyone. And I believe it provides authenticity. It doesn't just look like they bought 5 stars across the board. But Swell, our ultimate goal is to integrate into your practice management softwares more deeply and take a look at what sort of patients are you seeing and what sort of messaging can we generate from that will increase the likelihood that they'll engage with you and respond. And yeah, they had a wonderful chairside experience. Well, what's going to connect the next part of the process, which is they leave your practice, they give you a review or they give you feedback, and then what are you going to do about that? We talked about the responses or reaching out with negative reviews or team trainings or team shout outs. pull these reviews when your team's getting called out in reviews. Use that for a shout out or a gift card, or say, hey, we want more behavior and experiences like this for our patients. And thanks to Swell and the dashboard and the data that we provide, that's possible if practices are wanting to double down on Google My Business, Google reviews, and just how fruitful that can be from a patient acquisition standpoint. Is there
Absolutely.
anything you want to say on this, Chad, before we switch over? Or
No, I don't think so.
okay, cool. Well, take it away.
Yeah, so for those of you watching that are not in our Facebook Live, I would encourage each and every one of you to connect with us on social media. This is being broadcast in our group called Dentist in the Know. Dentist in the Know is really a group that's geared towards informing the dental profession, not just dentists, but the dental profession of kind of what's out there, and, you know, some new trends and topics in dentistry. We bring educators to the forefront, and we also bring you great connections with companies, manufacturers, service providers in the industry that can be beneficial to your practice. So use the QR code to join our group. We'd love to have you. This is not a sales pitch. We bring you companies that are valid, that we've tested, that we want to work with, and we want to share with you what they've done for us, just like we're doing with Danny here today. So love to have each and every one of you in our group, and I hope that you'd consider joining. If you have any questions for me outside of this, feel free to email me or connect with me through social media. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I think right now we're going to open it up to any questions from the group. One did come through a while ago, and I wanted Danny to get to that, but
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Let me just double check here with our feed. I'm because we're live and here, I'm trying to just scrape both to make sure we're not leaving one. Okay.
Well, I'm going to ask a question while you're trying to do that.
Sorry
That
about
came
that.
through earlier.
Okay.
And the question was in regards to a negative review. And it's actually three parts. The first is that if it's on Google, what do you do? The second is if it's on Facebook, what do you do? And the third part is what if they won't remove it? Do you have any recourse?
So with the Google review, I think we've kind of touched on that. It's essentially the 3 A's of customer service. It's acknowledge, apologize, amend. So the acknowledgement is you're tracking your reviews, you're aware that you got it, and you just a simple message will go a long way. Hey, we're so sorry we had a misunderstanding here. Like you said, sorry to hear. Are you a patient of record? Could you please double check that? We're accommodating. We try to provide an excellent patient experience, but if the negative review is, I guess you could say, if it's deserved, you know, we don't nail every experience, but there is a way to nail the customer service side of things after that. It's, we're so sorry that we didn't meet your expectations of a great appointment. We do try to provide an excellent experience. We're going to reach out to you privately. And then there's also, like in your scenario, if it's not a correct review, you can flag that with Google. They have been quicker in the past than they seem to be right now in terms of flagging and removing those. I don't know if they're batching them now, but I do believe that will come down, or someone will reach out at some point, but they are slow currently. I talked myself out of remembering where we need to go for the second part of the question.
No, that's okay. I think the question, I might have left a very important word out. Erroneous review.
Oh, okay.
So like if you get an erroneous negative review on Google, you flag it, you run it up the flagpole. On Facebook, you how would you handle it on Facebook? You answered it out on Google. You can, and I would say I believe there's 3 dots next to it. You just click on those and it says report this review. Is Facebook the same?
Facebook, I don't know entirely about their review policy, if you will. I don't know if they've gotten to that point, but you can absolutely flag when somebody is slandering or it's untruthful or they're not a patient of record. You can notify Google. But another important aspect here is Google has responses just like, Facebook has responses just like Google. In fact, you can respond directly to Facebook messages right through Swell as well. And so
Okay.
regardless of whether that review is coming down or not, our biggest recommendation is respond calmly and collected, acknowledge that there's some sort of misunderstanding here and that you're interested in figuring this out. If it's a patient of record, reach out to them. If it's an erroneous review, like you said, then flagging and letting Facebook know, hey, this is incorrect. And this is our Facebook business page. They know now they're catering more to businesses that are using their platform as a way to acquire patients, to give promos, interact with their customers. And so I do believe that they've got some stopgaps for that.
All right. Great answer. The next question comes from an if I can talk, an anonymous attendee. Our practice has a very large amount of elderly patients, 65 plus. Do you have recommendations for getting Google reviews from elderly patients who struggle with technology?
My first pushback is that my 96-year-old grandmother told me that I don't Facebook enough.
Yeah.
I know that she might be the anomaly, but really when we think about elderly and if they are living in assisted care or away from their children or whatnot, the biggest thing that they're becoming reliant on are these mobile phones for FaceTiming or simple text messages or staying connected on social. So I think it would really surprise practices because we've heard that, oh, all of our patients are older. No one's going to respond to this. I'm like, cool, give me 30 days and I'm going to show you what we can do. And they find that they have more individuals who will respond and engage. And then there's also Swell took that into account. Yes, if you make a message hard to understand who it's coming from, what experience it was tied to, and you require a bunch of steps out of people, then yes, elderly might struggle more with that. But our approach is brand it, make it, they could not mistake who it is coming from. They might even see the face of the hygienist they met with or the dentist that pulled their tooth or did their case. And then there's a one-click link where the majority of people are on Android devices. They're already logged into Google. They're part of the Google suite and they're already logged in somewhere on the phone unless they've cleared their histories. For your elderly patients, this is a one-click step. And then they can click 1 to 5 stars and type in, love Dr. Duplantis, been coming for years, won't change. And he's changed my smile, changed my life, right? I have a hard time with over 50% of the world's population are mobile internet users now. And we can't just write the elderly off as like a lost cause because technology itself allows us, many of them have Androids and they're logged in somewhere, you'll get more of those reviews than you think.
I would agree.
Or send an email as well. Text and email at the same time, but really it's not that hard.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of times their kids or grandkids will help them if they really so desire. But, even from some of those, you're still going to get the stop message,
Yeah. And that's
stop texting me because I pay 25 cents for each text.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and to those individuals, you can, next time they're in the practice, walk them through that on their phone. They're happy to do it, but fine. Those are the anomaly. The elderly patients in general, I believe, are more tech savvy or connected to be in a position to leave you reviews and feedback than you might think.
I would agree. You're going to get more than you think if you send them a text message because that's kind of the way of the world. I mean, my father-in-law passed away at almost 95 years old, and he still could text. He could Facebook. Now, although it was his Facebook, and he didn't realize that what was on his Facebook was your Facebook too, because y'all had friends that were the same people.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you can do is you will get some messages back that say, we get these a lot. I don't want to open another account, or I don't want to do this, but I had a great experience, and I want to share that with Dr. Duplantis or with Angela or Holly or Kelly, whoever they saw here. They want to make sure that they share that information. And it's not just your hygienists that are going to get commended. It's your assistants, it's your front desk team. And, when you get those types of responses, take that and share it on your practice's social media. Take that text, remove the name, and just say, hey, wonderful review from a patient of ours. Throw something out there so you can still capitalize on a review without them giving a review, and you can just put it in your own words. This came in from a patient today. What's holding you back from coming to see us? So, capitalize on that. Don't capitalize on the stop messages, but there's ways that you can capitalize on that as well.
Yep, absolutely. So I think as we wrap up here, we just want to say from the Swell side of things, thanks so much. And we love working with you and Jeff and Jennifer, and obviously the friendship and personal history we have. Love the group and what you're doing. I've told you several times, but I think the way that you're approaching engaging with practices and the educational aspect and the companies that you're aligning with, it's fun to see, because dentistry is evolving and changing, and our needs and approaches to our practical efforts, they change pretty consistently. But there's also some just low-hanging fruit in terms of plugging in simple tools like Swell. It's a very low cost, short time to get onboarded, and we provide a lot of value to now over 5,500 practices. If people want to reach out to me directly, we'll also have some dentists in the know links so that we know you're associated with this great crew. And we just want to make it easy for you to get reviews, get feedback from patients, and capitalize on the opportunity that Google has provided in terms of patient acquisition as it stands right now.
I appreciate you guys, appreciate what Swell does, not only for my practice, but for dentists in the know. And I will tell you that there is a secret sauce. It's a nicely branded message that goes out to the patient at the appropriate time of day. And it has been the most engaging of any method that we've tried. And it's something that I will not stop using in our practice until I'm forced to do so. So thank you, Danny. Thank you, Swell. Thank you, Angelica. And thank you, Grace. Really appreciate everything that you all did to put this together.
Thanks a lot. I'm going to go ahead and cut the live stream, and we'll wrap this up.